This book is the first comprehensive monograph on Millais, single artist study, since 1898. Seems ridiculous, but it's true. And it's the only one that's ever been fully illustrated in color, and with a text which really positions him not only within the art of England, but also in an international spectrum. John Everett Millais, who was born in 1829 in Southampton. He is a member of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, who were formed in 1848 in London, the first avant-garde group in British art, precursors to lots of avant-garde group formations that we'll see in the late 19th and early 20th century in modernism. They aimed to upset the whole system of British art. They all came through the Royal Academy of Arts, came through traditional schooling, but they were interested in art from before the time of Raphael's followers, the Raphaelites, hence their slightly strange name. And Millais was the leading light of this movement. He was the sort of child prodigy at the Royal Academy, still on the books as its youngest student, who entered there at 11 years of age, and went on to have a spectacular career. Millais' first and most important painting was painted when he was 19 years old. It's called Isabella, and it's a representation of a story from John Keats, Isabella or the Pot of Basil, which comes from Boccaccio. So it has a legitimate medieval source, but read through the lens of 19th century Romanticism. William Holman Hunt, another founding member of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, said it was the most astounding picture ever made by an artist under the age of 20. And I think that's still true. It has an extraordinary intensity, both of focus and design and composition, as well as a sort of image of this extraordinary ardor of love. And it's painted with exceptionally bright colors and beautiful handling of paint, and using models that they knew. Dante Gabriel Rossetti, who's one of the other founding members of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, is in the far back. Characteristically, he's drinking something alcoholic. He was a real party man. And Millais produces this large-scale picture, exhibits it at the Royal Academy, and it becomes a sensation. Throughout his career, he maintains a kind of Pre-Raphaelite interest in realism, in actuality. I talk about his art as his approach is to attack what you see. This is what he does. He paints what he sees. Whether it's a historical subject or a portrait or a landscape, doesn't matter. He's an artist of a kind of positivist flavor. He's interested in what you're looking at and transcribing that perfectly, but it changes his style from the kind of careful precision of Isabella and Ophelia into a much broader style of brushwork in portraits of Louise Jopling or in landscapes like dew-drenched firs. So his style really changes over his career and gets more and more abstract and more of sort of open, active brushwork. Part of what I'm trying to accomplish in this book is to show Millais as a modern artist. And there's an aspect that people think of as Victorian, which is kind of precious and romantic and sort of flowery, and something which seems rooted in a deep past and is not so connected to the moment. But this is not true. In Millais' art, there is an aspect of that. There are lots of images of lovers in star-crossed historical circumstances, some of his most popular pictures. But at the same time, he is someone who's very much of his moment, painting portraits of the leading artists and politicians of the day, painting landscapes which are remarkable in that no one paints landscapes like he does. These large-scale, 6-foot wide or high landscapes that he does in the out-of-doors, in Scotland, wind, rain, snow, shine, whatever. He's deeply committed. He is an artist who is trying to evince a modern style within the late 19th century, and he's not someone who needs to be thought of as a kind of neo-romantic Arthurian legend painting picture maker from the Victorian era. Victorian has a kind of negative cloud around it. But this is because of the Edwardians and then their progeny, because you always sort of react against what your parents did and against what your grandparents did and try to do something new. And of course that's modernism in the early 20th century. But we are sort of past a phase where we only look at modernist art as the most important art. We have a much more sort of Catholic way of looking about art now, much more open. And Millais fits wonderfully into this sort of more generous formation of the history of modern art and how it comes out of the 19th century. So to look at a work like Ophelia will not get you any closer to understanding Cubism, but it will get you closer to understanding symbolism and to understanding surrealism and to understanding trends in figurative art throughout the 20th century. And it's that Millais, who's really incisive, innovative late 19th century artist, who I'm trying to bring out in this book, and not a fuddy-duddy at all.